you talk about taking the piano again, and I've been thinking about getting I used to play the euphonium at school, but I haven't played one for 40 years.
Well, the 40 years is the magic time to pick it back up. I'm playing in the Ludlow Piano Festival this week with my piano playing, so let's hope I have learnt it again.
So and I've started to, because I did this pottery show where the salmon, and I really like the art part of it, and I always hated art and thought I was no good at it. And I've just sort of started. I'm not doing clay, but I'm started doing little sketches and things. Which I'm sort of just, and it's completely for myself. And I'm impressed with myself because the level I thought I was at is so low that anything above that would be incredible. But just doing those things where you go, actually, I'm just going to step back and do something that I would never have done, or something that isn't for anything. And I think that's, the reason I do a lot of these stupid things I do is just because they're fun, rather than this is going to lead anywhere at all. Which in the past I wouldn't have thought. I'd have thought, well, how can I translate this into something that will make me money?
How can I monetize?
Yeah, and now I'm thinking it's just fun to do this because it's stupid.
Well, also, if you think about the creative process, it is true to say that while your brain's busy learning a new thing, it does help all the other things. I definitely notice that when I have my piano lessons now. And this never happened when I was a child playing the piano. I've technically now probably got about as good as I was when I was 11, but I was very good when I was 11. So I'm happy with that. So I reckon I probably, I did all my grades as a child, and I probably am a grade 8 pianist again now, which is not bad because 2 years ago I really, really wasn't. But the bit that my fingers are slightly more, I really do have to do my scales and stuff. Everything's not quite as agile as it was. But the bit that I find is if I have an hour piano lesson, and the kids who come to my teacher after school are getting half an hour, but I'm sure as a child when I was properly learning music I was having and by the end of it, it's my brain that's hurting. When I learn a new piece, that to get my brain to just compute, so my fingers can do it, but I'm just like, what? And I get absolutely shattered after about an hour of really focusing on this. And I think it's the same bit of your brain that you use for languages and maths, isn't it? But I said to my piano teacher, is it sort of proven to help you stay young mentally? And she said, yeah, it's one of the really important things. So I just noticed that and I know similarly with learning, I learned to speak Dutch when I was in my early 20s, and I became fluent in Dutch, and I still am. But trying to learn Spanish in my 50s, now that my daughter's living in Spain and seems to want to stay there, I don't know if it's that I'm being lazy or my brain's just like, I'm tired, no more languages. I'm just about hanging on to the original one.
I think, it is hard for the brain. But, you're right, that all these things, like, look, the minute, and I'm hardly even done any art. But the minute you start doing it, you start looking at things in a completely different way. You start noticing the light and just what objects, just in literal terms of going, oh, actually, there's some lampposts in my street that I've never actually looked at and noticed were there. So it does give and comedy is so much about observation and
so is all writing, isn't it? Like the bit that when Grayson Perry came on my podcast, and he at the time was doing his stage shows as if he needs to not leave anything for the rest of us. And he said the thing he most liked about it was that it was a receptacle for things forever, because he had the stage show, that he was always writing things that he thought would be useful. And when I'm engaged in a project, I was really awake at the wheel when I was writing this book, and I was really sort of properly engaged in everything I read, heard, saw, and I always was writing notes, and I was gathering things thematically and just seeing the world through wide awake young kind of eyes, young curious eyes. And I'm about to write my second book, and I'm quite looking forward to that bit of the gathering the information and having something. And that's the nice thing about what we do as podcast hosts, is you sort of have to, just for that week, you become an expert in that person or their thing. And there's something it's quite nice. You're learning. It's like you're doing a GCSE. You've just done a GCSE in Cali Beaton. What an awful way to spend the last few weeks.